So now we will be going into our next set of games. Let's get a little bit of data on what we are doing. It's going to be Top versus NTT is the first game. Now the thing to note is that NTT is coming into this 0-2, and Top is coming into this as a professional Korean gamer. So it's going to be a lot of pressure for NTT in this first Terran versus Terran.
And there's been a lot of hype about the Korean players coming over here. For people that don't understand, this is the first tournament outside of BlizzCon or WCG that Koreans have actually traveled out to compete against the rest of the world. So this is going to be extremely exciting to see how they do, especially because there's been so much debate about which server is the best. Is it Europe? Is it America? Is it the Koreans? So now we're actually seeing the Koreans come over here and be like, okay, well, we're going to show you how we play. And I was discussing with Madfrog once again behind stage, that handsome nerd he is, that he actually thinks that it's just a clash of styles. Rather than different sections being better than the other or pulling ahead, it's just different styles. And because of how Battle.net works with splitting up the servers, you don't really see clash of styles. And that is what DreamHack, sponsored by SteelSeries, brings us, is the clash of styles. We have American players, we have Korean players, and obviously we have all the European players. So it's going to be really good to see how this is. And NTT isn't, even though he is 0-2, he's not a bad Terran player.
Absolutely. Now, for any of you who didn't know, NTT was a super famous Brood War player in the 1999-2000 era. And I know most of you perhaps were not even born at that point in time. But this is way back when Brood War, quite possibly the most hardcore kick-ass game of all time, just came about. NTT was a beastly Terran player. Now, I will say that even in the 1999 eras, as well as in the 2009 eras of Brood War, Terrans tend to hole up, defend, and want to push out with big, very strong attacks. But NTT had his very own unique style of expanding lots, hiding bases, doing very odd aggressive tactics. I think that transfers quite well to SC2.
Yeah, I mean, one of his previous nicknames used to be the SCV producer. Always, in every game, he always used to have around 110 SCVs every game, and then the rest of it would be units. He'd cut off at 110, and then it would be units, putting a ton of pressure on you late game. And he was, like you said, a very good Brood War player, now transferred into StarCraft 2. Unfortunately, though, in this tournament is 0-2 in the group stage, which isn't looking too good for him. But we are going to see OGS Top play.
Yeah.
That's going to be pretty cool to see how he plays against NTT.
Yeah, now Top perhaps most famous for his epic game against Fruit Dealer in the very first GSL, where Top seemed to have more Thors than were actually reasonable, but managed to barely lose that series in a very, very sort of kick-ass finish. So he has had the chance to practice quite a bit, again, training for the GSL with Team OGS that does share a house with Team Liquid. So, of course, he has the best from both worlds.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, sorry.
But
please continue. Please continue.
Oh, please.
I don't want to interrupt you.
Excuse me.
Please continue.
Thank you. So, I mean, one thing that is so exciting to me about Top is that he is clearly an extremely strong player, but he's kind of a mystery. People haven't gotten the chance to really see what he is up to. So this is going to be an amazing first chance to really look at his play.
And that's the thing with players who have been playing in the GSL. The way that the Korean players and obviously other GSL members that train is they train for a specific map versus a player. And so you don't really have a huge database of information on OGS Top, for example. So NTT's going into this. Obviously, he's seen him play in GSL. Yes, he knows how he plays in those games, but he doesn't know what he's like. What are his styles like? What can he abuse? What are OGS Top's weaknesses? He doesn't know that, and that's going to be obviously key going into this game.
So, without any further ado, let us go into Game 1 of Group B action today here at DreamHack 2010. Let's just give a cheer for this wonderful tournament, for the great folks at DreamHack who have made this all possible. And here is Game 1 between NTT and OGS Top playing under the ID Raze. The first match will be on Zelnaga Caverns. If you're a fan for your Dutchman NTT, give a cheer.
And if you are a fan of OGS Top, who's flown all the way from Korea to be here, please make some noise.
So it looks like NTT in the top right as the blue Terran. In the bottom left, we have OGS Top as the red Terran. Now, I will say Terran versus Terran is, I would say, the most volatile matchup that we've seen. It's gone through some of the most significant changes. It even looks like NTT is making sure that there's no goofiness going on at the south end of his base, sending an early SCV, but ooh, a little bit of nerves getting to him, accidentally mis-rallying that SCV. In the early days of the beta, it was all about Vikings and tanks, and as a result, as time progressed, the game became all about Marauders, and then eventually now the Marine is one of the core units in this matchup. And once it finally passed that into today's style, it is pretty much anyone's game.
Yeah, and I remember in the beta back in the day, like you were saying, you never used to make Marines. You were considered dumb if you made Marines in TVT, and now it's actually so dependent on Marines throughout this matchup. But with this, I probably suspect both players to kind of go for a 1-1-1 kind of play. 1-1-1 being obviously barracks into factory into starport, as Banshees have been used so much recently in TVTs because they have such high DPS, and obviously if you get the cloak out, you have to, the thing with top players, when they have an orbital command, they are never going over the required amount of energy for a mule. So if you actually sneak in a Banshee with cloak, oh my god, it's the worst thing in the world to play against.
True, there are few worse feelings than when you call down a mule and giggle to yourself saying, I hope no one knows that Terran's actually imbalanced, and then 2 seconds later a Banshee appears and you curse in whatever language. And we, of course, do have many different people from many countries today, so we will have all sorts of rage getting induced by that great unit, the Banshee, and I will admit, I love what NTT is doing here, because look what happens with Top. He gets into this base, and what does he see? Just a refinery, no racks. Oh, OGS Top is so smart. What I love so much about NTT's play is that he hid something normal in his base, and it would perhaps convince his opponent that there was cheese, could have maybe thrown down an early bunker, but Top, a little too good for that, and exactly as you said, looks like both players are going for somewhat of a fast factory.
Yeah, they are going to put it down. That's what a lot of players have been doing, especially because they really do enjoy using the Banshees. They actually get the refinery before the factory, but in this case, both players are going for the factory first. NTT not actually having scouted what is going on inside of Top's base. He has got the control of the Xel'Naga towers, and actually that is such a key point throughout this game, especially in TVT, is controlling the middle of the map, because TVT is always, even in Brood War, used to always be about positional play. And when you control both these towers, you can actually just place on the left and right hand side of the map where you have these expansions. You just place a supply depot and a turret, and you can actually cut the map in half and see everything.
Oh, and here's some very cool play by NTT, going for the surround, but it looks like Top will end up pulling back in time. Now, so far, I've been very impressed with NTT's early game play, playing extremely smart, very, very mobile with his early force of units, even though they both have the same set of units produced. NTT has more map control, is pushing more aggressively. Tanks coming out now for NTT. Both players do have 2 gas geysers, but NTT's was quite a bit later. NTT continuing just to produce tanks and Marines, but it looks like a very fast starport coming up from Top.
Yeah, the starport has been put down for Top. We'll have to see what he does with this exactly. If he is going to go, well, it depends. Will he go for siege mode with his next 100 gas? He does have 100 now. Is he going to go for it? Well, he hasn't done anything yet, so that might entail that he is going to be using the starport more than the factory itself. Over in NTT space, he has actually chosen to go on for siege mode.
Wow, it looks like NTT's gearing up for a very big push. Uh-oh, it looks like we do see Top trying to pull back an SCV right now, trying to do some scouting, but again, NTT's so mobile, and here's the switch. Looks like Top is trying to stay in a little bit of defensive mode, but then wants to get that very fast Raven. There's a very interesting choice, and this is exactly what NTT needs to make this push work. He is getting huge numbers of tanks and Marines, getting a second barracks, really committing to this one base play, and this Raven is really not going to help out much at all.
No, I mean, usually you get a Raven to help fight against the Vikings and obviously Marauder shots, but that's not going to help out at all. And I love the timing that Top had on that. The way that he actually got a tank out first, and then as soon as the tank finished, he switched it over, then made the Raven, and then now is actually going for an expansion. And another base of NTT is actually getting an engineering bay, kind of fearing the Banshee play. As we look at his vision, NTT's vision, he still actually has not seen anything from OGS Top's base.
Now, I think this is actually a very smart response by NTT. In general, you see some sort of push early, but if you've seen nothing, you start to get real suspicious and start to feel a lot more vulnerable to that sort of Banshee. So NTT throwing that very key turret plus Viking down turrets, because they can see farther than they can shoot. You get the Viking out to be able to clean those Banshees in your base up, and in the meantime, Wow, I would really say that top is in a very awkward position if NTT chooses to push a little bit sooner, and NTT is clearly in a little bit of all-in mode, favoring this really fast stim. Again, Marines are that new key unit in this matchup, so he's trying to get as many of those as possible.
Yeah, he has 4 Marines queued up, which is a slight mistake. I'm pretty sure as soon as the reactor is made, he's just going to cancel them and build them on the reactor. But if this expansion goes up for long enough, if NTT doesn't do anything about it, his economy, OGS Top's economy is just going to pull too far ahead. The problem is that to fight against all these Marines, you really do need siege mode. So he is restricting it actually, sorry, as I say that, it is going to be completed soon. And if he gets good position on it, that's going to be vital. And NTT, for the first time, scouting OGS Top and does see the expansion goes down. And what is his reaction to this?
Uh-oh, looks like NTT's gearing up for a little bit of a push of his own. NTT, who favored that very fast siege mode, didn't really get to make use of it. Top, who favored the later siege mode, now setting up tanks right there. And this might actually be a big break for NTT. He's been making so many Marines and tanks, it would be very hard to pierce top if top were up on this high ground, but now with the expansion out, top is in quite a vulnerable position.
Oh no, and a slight blunder by NTT. He's actually supply blocked at 59, having to call down energy to increase the supply depot, and that's not something you really want to be using your energy on in this kind of situation. But it looks like top is in quite a comfortable position. This Viking has landed and is going to do a little harassment on the bottom of the base. He is going to know, he's actually just using it for scouting purposes, I think, just waypointing it back and forth, not going to move in. But he's like, lol, he's like, oh look, I'm actually going to kill an SCV with a Viking on the ground.
And it looks like at the same time, uh-oh, Vikings moving through the middle, spotting this medevac. There's the stim. Oh no, big wasted stim right there. Accidentally stimming twice on some of the units, so most of them have absolutely no health at all. These siege tanks are going to rip through this NTT. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh!
That is crucially loses so many Marines. He has got the combat shield in production, does not wait for it, and especially because of that stim, completely missed anything, and now only has 1 medevac and is being forced to move back. But at the same time, we look at the unit counting tab. Actually, I thought it'd be a lot different. SCVs aren't actually that much far from each other. The only difference being that the orbital command has been put down for quite a while. Therefore, mules are in production for OGS Top.
Now, the one thing to note, we see that OGS Top has only just started stim, yet meanwhile in NTT's base, he has finished both the stim and the combat shield upgrade. We see a second engineering bay going down as well, so we will have plenty of upgrades coming up, or plenty of ability to make missile turrets. And this could be very key. If NTT can pinch this off at a good angle, the tanks have not been sieged yet. NTT's in a good spot. There goes down the tank fire, and these Marines of NTT are cleaning up, doing huge amounts of damage, but these tanks just do way too much, and Top has managed to break this little force of NTT at the front.
Oh my god, he can actually just move up right now and contain NTT. He lost all his army. The choice to actually not siege, I thought, oh my god, is OGS Top making a mistake? But no, his choice was actually to keep them unsieged. As when they unsiege, they actually attack a lot faster and have a lot of hits coming in, and just cleaned it up super fast, especially against the Marine count, and done a lot of damage, and now he's in great position. I don't know what his reaction now is going to be. Is he going to take a third, or is he going to try and contain it? He is going to move back. Taking a third now is probably the best idea for OG Top.
Yeah, it's actually quite a difficult position for Top to be in, even though he's killed off so many Marines for NTT. I mean, look at this production of Marines by NTT, just having them pour out of his bases, getting a little bit of reactors as well, so that way he can continue to be aggressive and get those medevacs out and do drop tech. Because Marines do so much damage, this means that Top needs to have the tanks in just the right position every time. If these tanks are in the wrong position just once, that could be potentially game-ending.
And it looks like NTT is going for, well, he has got the double engineering bay down, getting +1/1 for weapons and armor for his infantry. The armory being put down too, and it looks like the timing of it will be ready for +2. And that's quite a lot, because on the other hand, if we look at OGS Top's base, he really doesn't have any upgrades and doesn't feel like he needs it. It looks like both players are gearing to get ready to take this gold. And I love the supply depot placement in the top left for NTT.
Yeah, this is very clever supply depot placement. Going to be able to spot so much. And there's the Vikings moving forward. Uh-oh. Will he be able to siege up any tanks in time? Very smart play by NTT, pulling back to get a better concave, but Top is leapfrogging those tanks very effectively, takes his rage out on the destructible rocks.
And that was a huge mistake from NTT. He actually had the siege tank, the one siege tank he had there holding that location was still firing at the rocks whilst Top moved up, so that it didn't do any damage. And it just made Top clean that out so fast. And it looks like he is going to be setting up a containment outside of NTT's base, or even just going straight for the kill.
Oh my god, look at how fast these tanks are leapfrogging forward. And there's the stim to try to run around. Oh, it did not go as expected. And there is the good game. Top manages to take another win in his group. And NTT is eliminated in last place as 0-3. But not without putting up a very strong fight. That's an extremely tough style to break. The very mobile mass marine plus medevac style. But Top just had such crisp placement of those tanks.
I know, and like I said before, TVT is all about placement. And the way that he had the tank lineman right next to that kind of hole in the ground, the Marines had to run all the way around, and the tanks were doing damage because of their range, just cleaned out the Marines. And unfortunately for NTT, that is going to be his last game in the DreamHack tournament. Obviously sponsored by SteelSeries, so thank you guys for putting the prize money. It's such a large amount of money as well.
Absolutely.
God, I wish I was good at this game. I could actually make some money.
But it's okay, because you get to be the pretty talking face on camera.
I know. I got to sit next to you day 9, just sit here and commentate with you. Oh.
You're so sweet, Dr. Apollo.